Welcome. This section of training is on conflict and problem resolution. Our hope is that you won't run into any conflict or problems this year in the parks. However, the chances are that at some point a conflict or problem will arise, and we hope that this will give you a few tools on how you can handle the conflict and problems and come to a resolution. Before we get started, I want us to remember that we all, as Genesee County Parks employees, have one thing in common. We've all agreed to work for the Genesee County Parks together. And our visitors have things in common too. With us, we all love the parks and the variety of different kinds of programs and opportunities that the Genesee County Parks offers for our community. No one wishes anyone else to have a bad day, and no one wants for you to have conflict. But conflict still arises. And so we have to think about how to deal with it and why that may be occurring. Humans have layers. So do ogres and onions. And those layers matter. It's who we are. It may be what we look like, how tall we are, how much we weigh. It could be our background. All of those pieces are parts of us. They're what make us different and special. But they're also what can cause us to have conflicts with other humans. One way to think of your coworkers and yourself is like an iceberg. Really, when we first meet people, we only see about 10% of who they are, and 90% is underneath the surface. Take a minute to pause the video. Think of the 10% that you see when you first meet somebody. And then make a list of the 90% of the things that you can't see when you meet a person. We call this the waterline of visibility. We're able to see things like age and gender and skin color most times, but who we are doesn't always come through. Maybe our educational background, our talents, our skills. Who we are matters. But a lot of times when we first meet somebody, we start to create bias on that person based on what we see in that 10%. Here in the Genesee County Parks, our goal is to do our best to identify and remove bias and to treat everyone equally and with the same respect that we would want to be treated. One workplace difference that we see conflict occur every year is within our multi-generational team. In the parks, we have all ages and abilities that work for us. From our Gen Z 16-year-olds, who this may be their very first job opportunity, to our traditionalists and boomers that have this as a retirement job. This wide gap within generations can cause some issues to occur, especially based on the stereotypes that may come with your generation. Maybe it's the millennials that want everything handed to them, or the Gen Z kids who can't get off their phones. Okay, boomer. No matter your generation, there's stereotypes that come along with it. The first thing we need to think is we may be different, but that's okay. And it's actually a good thing. Now in 2020, we have 5 generations working side by side. Traditionalists, boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, all of you are working together to become the best parks team possible. Each of your strengths and weaknesses can work to become a stronger team. Here's another chance to pause the video. Think about the diversity in your workplace. Write down a few things that motivate you. Think about how your motivation may differ from your coworkers. How can people who have different motivators effectively work together? These are great questions to ask yourself on the job before you get frustrated with your teammates. Think instead about how you can be a better teammate by understanding the differences within your group and how those differences make you stronger. Because remember, teamwork is a core value here in the Genesee County Parks, and that we recognize that the strength in our collective knowledge and skills is what provides a greater service for our community and visitors. However, we know that when we have 2 icebergs that have different values and needs and interests and experiences and backgrounds, and especially opinions, that there's going to be conflict that happens. Here's some examples of how you should deal with conflict when it occurs in your workplace. This flowchart shows that when conflict occurs, there are multiple ways that people deal with it. Some people avoid the conflict. Does the conflict get resolved when it's avoided? Some people engage but dominate and don't listen. The conflict is still not resolved. Our goal is to resolve the conflict so that it goes away, and so that both of you walk away feeling that it was addressed and handled appropriately. Remember, it's your choice how you decide to respond. By taking the time to stay calm and think rationally, you'll make a better decision in the long run. Now you've come to the point where the problem is worth addressing. It needs to be handled so that we can figure out a resolution. Here are 5 steps you can take to handling the problem. Step 1, talk to the person directly. It's usually able to be handled if we just communicate with whoever we have the problem with. Step 2, together try to come to a compromise. Step 3, if you can't resolve the problem together, then talk to your immediate supervisor. Step 4, once a decision has been made between you, the person you're having the problem with, and your supervisor, it's time to let it go, You have made the agreement that this problem is now resolved. But wait, there's a step 5. The problem continues. If you didn't let it go, then we're going to have to continue until it's resolved. The question is it time to run this problem up the chain of command? If the answer is yes, and you have exhausted all of your avenues to solving the problem by communicating directly with the person or working with your direct supervisor, or this problem falls under harassment guidelines, it's time to enact our problem resolution procedures in your seasonal handbook. Turn to page 11. If you turn to page 11 in your employee handbook, you'll see the problem resolution procedure. If this problem is one that needs to be addressed, then the employee has steps that they can take to make sure that it is addressed with both their supervisor and the parks director. As you can see, the employee is to present their problem to their immediate supervisor within 7 days of the problem occurring. The supervisor then has 7 days to respond, and the employee can then present their problem in writing to the parks director, who also must respond within 7 days. These protocols are put in place so that problems that need to be addressed have procedures and protocols on how those larger conflicts can be addressed. But wait, there's more. What about conflicts with our visitors? Now, those are bound to occur. And the number one rule is to stay calm. First, explain and communicate with the customer. Then, if they are upset and you're not able to calm them down and provide them with the information that they need, get your direct supervisor involved, or give them your direct supervisor's information so that they can contact them at a later time. If they still are not calming down and the conflict continues to occur, make sure to call a park ranger if needed. And ultimately, the decision of how the conflict is resolved is up to you. Remember, it's actually really hard to argue with somebody who looks so happy. We are the parks people. We have the fun jobs. Try to stay calm in any conflicts that you may have to be in. Try not to sweat the small stuff. We really hope that this training video was beneficial to you and that you have a wonderful, safe, and conflict-free summer. See you soon and have a wonderful day.